On a fall afternoon in 1978, a skinny 15-year-old walked to the gymnasium at Laney High School in Wilmington, North Carolina. His name was Michael Jordan. He was there to see if he'd made the varsity basketball team. He found the list posted on a wall, read it top to bottom, read it again, searched for his name in the wrong alphabetical spot, hoping someone had made a mistake. It wasn't there. His best friend's name was on the list, Leroy Smith. Taller, but Jordan knew he was better. The coaches didn't agree. That night, Michael Jordan went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. What he did after that would become one of the most important psychological case studies in sports history. To understand what happened in that hallway, you have to understand the backyard. James Jordan, Michael's father, built a small basketball court behind their house in Wilmington. Every day after school, Michael and his older brother Larry went to war on that court. Larry was shorter, 5'7", but he was stronger, more explosive, and for years he was better. Michael idolized him, hated losing to him, and lost constantly. Larry Jordan had what coaches call wrong-sized talent, the skills and heart of a professional athlete packed into a body that would never let him become one. Years later, Doug Collins, who coached Michael in Chicago, would say after meeting Larry, "The moment I saw him, I understood where Michael's drive came from." Michael himself put it simply, "When you see me play, you see Larry play." Every night they played one-on-one until someone won. And the rule, unspoken but absolute, was that you didn't go inside until Michael had won at least once. His friend Leroy Smith noticed it at school too. They played every day, and if you beat Michael at a game of horse, you weren't going home. You would have to play another game, Smith recalled, and another. You didn't go home until he had won. Most people who are competitive want to win. Michael Jordan could not tolerate the experience of losing. There's a difference. By the summer before his sophomore year, Jordan had a problem. He was 5'10" and weighed maybe 160 pounds. Skilled, yes. Quick, absolutely. But in a world where varsity basketball favored size, he was a question mark. Pop Herring, Laney's varsity coach, invited both Jordan and Leroy Smith to try out. Smith was 6'6". Jordan was a half-foot shorter and still growing into his coordination. The decision wasn't complicated. Varsity needed height. Junior varsity would give Jordan more playing time to develop. But logic doesn't matter when you're 15 and you've just been told you're not good enough. Jordan later called it the worst day of his young life. He kept returning to the list, reading it over and over, hoping the names would rearrange themselves. They didn't. What most people don't know is that Jordan never blamed the coaches publicly. He didn't throw a tantrum or demand an explanation. He disappeared. He went to the junior varsity team and did something that would become his signature. He made the rejection personal. "I wanted them to lose," he admitted years later about the varsity squad, even though his close friends were on that team. "I wanted them to lose to prove they made a mistake." That sentence contains the entire blueprint of Michael Jordan's psychology. He didn't just want to prove he belonged. He wanted the people who doubted him to suffer for it. On junior varsity, Jordan didn't just play well. He dominated so completely that the games became events. Varsity players started arriving early just to watch the JV team, just to watch him. There were games where he scored 40 points, not because he needed to, because he was making a point. His coach, Ron Coley, remembers seeing Jordan for the first time at an away game. The JV team was losing by 20 points with 1 minute left. 9 players on the court had given up. 1 hadn't. He was playing his heart out, Coley recalled. "I thought his team was down by 1 with 2 minutes left. It was 20 points, 1 minute. He was always like that." That summer, Jordan went to a basketball camp and something unlocked. Coaches who had never heard of him started calling him the best player there. Roy Williams, who would later coach at North Carolina and Kansas, watched Jordan play and told a colleague, "I think I just saw the best 6'4" high school player I've ever seen." By senior year, Jordan had grown 4 inches. He wasn't just making varsity, he was the best player in the state. But here's what matters. The growth spurt didn't change his mentality. The chip was already installed. Jordan built his entire identity around an internal script, one that told him every single day that someone, somewhere, was doubting him. That script drove him to 6 championships. If you want a structured way to shape your own internal dialogue, what you reach for under pressure, there's an app called Affirmations. It's a short daily practice designed to rewire that default voice. Most people expect motivation. What actually changes is your automatic reaction when things get difficult. Link in the description. Most athletes use rejection as temporary fuel. A bad game, a slight from a coach, a critical article, they burn it for energy and move on. Jordan never moved on. He carried every doubt, every insult, every perceived slight into every game for his entire career. He manufactured them when they didn't exist. His trainer, Tim Grover, said Jordan would sometimes invent disrespect, convince himself an opponent had said something they hadn't, just to access that rage. In 1993, at the peak of his dominance, Jordan played a preseason game against a rookie named LaBradford Smith, who scored 37 points against him. The next night, Jordan dropped 36, in the first half alone. Afterward, Jordan told reporters that Smith had talked trash, had said something to him after the first game that set him off. Smith hadn't said anything. Jordan made it up. He needed to believe he was disrespected. The alternative, playing for joy, for craft, for love of the game, was never enough. That list at Laney High wasn't just a memory. It was a mechanism, a button he could press whenever he needed to access something darker than ordinary motivation. Phil Jackson, his coach in Chicago, once said, "Michael had a terrible need to be constantly challenged. He'd create confrontations just to have something to overcome." Michael Jordan became the most successful basketball player who ever lived. 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, a competitive record that may never be matched. But the men who played with him tell a different story. His teammates feared him. They walked on eggshells. He reduced grown men to tears in practice, then expected them to perform under pressure. Bill Cartwright, his center in Chicago, once said, "I've got one fear, that I'll play all this time and come so close and never get a ring because of him." Jordan's former teammate Dave Corzine put it more bluntly. It's hard playing on a team with Michael Jordan because you're always the reason the team lost. The chip that made him great also made him, by many accounts, nearly impossible to be around. After his father was murdered in 1993, Jordan retired from basketball. He was 30 years old, at the height of his powers, and he walked away. When asked why, he said something most people miss: "I had nothing left to prove." But that wasn't quite true. The list was still there. It would always be there. 2 years later, he came back.